Hello, I'm Nasha Haider, the founder of Innotech Consultants. Today we have the great pleasure of speaking with Robin Lee, the general manager at Hawk here in Singapore. Hi, Robin. It's really fantastic to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Nasha. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm really looking forward to this.
Could you firstly introduce us to what Hawk stands for?
Sure.
And what are its missions?
Sure. So Hawk is a software company that has kind of created how I would like to describe the iOS of financial crime. So we're a platform. That platform, just like iOS, just like your phone, has apps.
Yes.
And underpinning those apps is a massive data lake where that data can be leveraged by all these individual apps. So traditionally in the space that we play in, which is the financial crime space, your applications will be disparate. They won't talk to each other. They won't integrate with each other. And so as a result, as a user, you have to open up multiple windows. Whereas with Hawk, we've put all that into a single solution that not only makes it easier for our users to take advantage of, but simultaneously we actually have an AI element to it as well, where we can leverage the power of artificial intelligence to improve efficiencies, as well as to help with the process as well. Our customers are primarily comprised of financial institutions. So the people that will be using Hawk will be mainly anti-financial crime officers, AML officers, that's anti-money laundering officers, or compliance officers in financial institutions like banks, fintechs, etc., etc.
Fantastic. So this is a new startup?
Yeah, yes and no. New definitely in the APAC region, but the company is actually 7 years old.
Okay.
So we were founded in 2018 in Munich, Germany. So we're in Europe, we're very well established. In the US, we're established enough, but not as established as Europe. And in APAC, I've been with the company now for about a year and a half.
Oh, so it's really fantastic that you're here now, considering that financial crime threats are rapidly evolving in this region. So what excites you most about leading Hawk in Asia Pac?
I mean, there's definitely that element of combating financial crime. And unfortunately, it's increasing quite rapidly. But, to work for an organization that has meaning, purpose, and can help financial institutions capture the bad guys in a sense, or prevent bad actors from doing bad things. I think that's great. So there's that element, like why do we do what we do?
Yes.
Then I think the other element is I don't know, with my background, I've done startups, right? And to build and create something, in this case, the APAC operation for Hawk, is something that I really, really enjoy. And to be able to put a great team together, and try and build great products, inspire the team to help grow the business, et cetera, et cetera. Technology is probably the next aspect. The team in Germany have created something that's quite outstanding in terms of performance and capabilities in our industry. So and I already mentioned the purpose element as well, right? Why we do what we do. So I would say it's those three things.
Fantastic. So how do you foster an entrepreneurial spirit, and I call it infectious energy, within your team? So especially during periods of innovation and growth.
Okay, so I think first and foremost, it's all about culture. Culture can make or break your organization.
Right.
And, when you build a company from the outset, or in my case, building out a region, I really think that setting that tone and building that culture should be front and center, right? The main focus. So once you have that, then everything will flow down accordingly. I guess the other aspect is getting the right type of people. Okay.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
how one operates in a big company versus how one operates in a small company or even a startup as sort of startup, but starting up a region like we do at Hawk, is very, very different. Okay. Now I've worked in big companies where you have so many people, you get into some serious, especially at the top, right? There's some serious political, it gets very political, right? And, some of the organizations I've worked at, it's been like Game of Thrones level upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And you can't operate like that in a startup or a scale up, right? You because you have less people, number one, and so it's very clear what work you're doing, right? Whereas in the corporate, you can quote unquote hide, right? You're not getting all those corporate benefits that you either. So I guess you really have to foster that environment for your in which your team is working and try and show that there's a different angle in and with different kind of benefits to working in an organization like this.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree with you that the team is leaner. So you need to have a really good holistic approach to gel the team together for the general purpose.
That's right.
That you're angling towards in the APAC region. And I think earlier we were talking about that you were saying that APAC is such a diverse region.
Yes.
So what makes Hawk's explainable AI approach a true game changer for banks and fintechs across APAC? Can you share how this transparency makes a real difference?
Sure. So maybe we'll start off by defining what is transparency in AI.
Yes.
Right. I think that's important, and the way in which Hawk does this is actually two elements to this. The first is when the user is using our software and the AI takes any sort of action, it's explained to them on the screen in plain English.
Okay.
So that's stage number one, right? Element number one, sorry. Element number two is we see a lot of vendors in the market who go and get a free AI algorithm from someone else, right? They will take that, train that up, and use that. And unfortunately, in our industry, the repercussions of getting stuff wrong can be pretty significant, right? You don't want to be labeled a terrorist or a money launderer or a fraudster or anything like that, right? And so that second element in Hawk is that we write all the code from the ground up for our models, okay? Down to the line of code and it doesn't get more explainable than that, right? I mean, I guess an analogy is you're cooking the best char kway teow in Penang,
okay,
right? and that person that's creating this char kway teow, they've got it right down to the ingredients in terms of how to make that char kway teow, and the char kway teow is so awesome. There's like lines around the block and everyone's out there,
Yeah.
You lose that person or someone else takes over the business and fires that person, then your char kway teow will be different, right? Correct. It might not be as good, right? And that'll impact your business quite significantly. So it's a similar analogy from our perspective, where we do have the original team, everything's written from the ground up. We actually have a gentleman by the name of Dr. Felix Burkhan that writes those algorithms and teaches AI at one of the universities in Germany. So yeah.
Fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time I've heard of AI being
compared to char kway teow, yeah.
So with your leading on from that,
I mean, we could use other dishes if you want.
It's fine.
Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's
sorry.
So with your deep experience in regulatory compliance, what are the biggest misconceptions about AI-powered anti-fraud and anti-money laundering solutions. Like leaders in APAC or in the region, they sometimes have these misconceptions. So what is one or two of the leading misconceptions you think you're facing currently?
Okay, so if you look at the bulk of AI applications in the anti-financial crime space, not all, but the bulk, it's leveraging an AI technique called machine learning.
Yes.
And with machine learning, you need data, and then you put a bit of data into the algorithm, it learns something and spits out a result. Then you put another bit of data into the algorithm, it learns a little bit more and spits out the result. And so the more data you put in, the smarter and smarter and smarter that algorithm becomes, and therefore more effective as a result of that. And I think that, well, I've come across many financial institutions who either don't have the data in the first place.
How can they not have the data?
You could be a guy and a girl in the garage starting up a fintech and expect to have AI from day one, right? You ain't got no data, right? You haven't even got any customers, right? And you think AI is going to come in and be that magic bullet that will solve world peace and other things. No, I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean? Like,
yes, I do understand.
Assist with your business on that front. And then the second is in a lot of larger institutions, the quality of the data isn't that great because a lot of it has been inputted manually, et cetera, et cetera. And then I guess the third one, just coming off the top of my head here, would be the ability to access that data. And there are many older financial institutions who have a lot of data, but it's stored on, I'll give you an example, it might be stored on some sort of medium like magnetic tape.
Okay. Yes.
Right?
So very old technology.
Yes. And so because a lot of these older banking systems they're actually written in a programming language called COBOL. Okay, and COBOL was invented in 1940s or 1950s. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's old. Okay, and the storage mechanism for a lot of the data that within some of these systems is magnetic tape. So I don't even remember the old James Bond movies, right? Where James Bond has to go and steal the disc, which is like this big, right? And then
from the 1960s.
Yeah. But a lot of believe it or not, a lot of financial institutions are still using this. So getting that into an AI solution is
so you're saying it's even older than the legacy systems, which are worried.
Well, that is the legacy systems in a way, right? So yes.
So then how can you use Hawk's modular platform to reduce the false positives and enhance this sort of customer experience compared to those legacy systems?
Sure. So my answer to that previous question was very general, but in terms of the reducing the false positives, I mean, if I was to take, for example, transaction monitoring.
Yes.
Okay. And you have transaction monitoring, the traditional way of let me define what that is first. So transaction monitoring for AML, for anti-money laundering, is going to the past, looking at all the transactions that have happened, analyzing them, and trying to identify suspicious activity. And anything that may be deemed suspicious or hold some sort of a risk, if it's risky enough, will get flagged, and you would write up what we call a suspicious transaction report, send that to the regulator, law enforcement, and then they will take action after. Okay. Sometimes you would have to work with law enforcement based off this and the regulator, depending on which jurisdiction you're in. But that's the fundamentally what it is. And how do you identify these transactions? With the traditional systems, it's usually through rules. So let's say that I have a rule that says that any transaction over US $10,000 needs to get flagged.
Okay. Yeah.
It's easy, right?
Okay. Yes.
And then, so a couple of challenges with these older systems is that, number one, if you want to change that rule to, I don't know, from $10,000 to say $25,000.
Right. Yes.
What have you got to do as an FI, financial institution? You have to go back to the vendor, say, hey, I want to change this rule. They will send someone over. They will hard code that rule change into the system for you.
Mm-hmm.
And all this can take up to 2 weeks. You have to pay them.
Yes.
So I think for the big enterprise, old school vendors, it could be as much as $10,000 per change. Okay. And then they make that change. And then you go back and then you're like, oh man, 25,000 is too high. I'm not capturing, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm not capturing. I need to lower it to 15,000. So what have you got to do? You gotta go back and go through all that rigmarole again and pay more money. And so that's the challenge with the traditional challenge with traditional systems, is that you have to pay to make rule changes. The newer systems like Hawk, we do this, right? We do this, but we enable the customer to change the rules in the user interface, as opposed to, the user can do it, right? They don't have to keep going back to the vendor.
So the user could be a bank,
or it could be a fintech. It could be a payments company, an insurance company, anyone that offers financial services.
Okay. Yes.
That's pre-AI.
Yes.
So
that's
you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at how much efficiencies you can gain by just doing that. Okay.
Yes.
Now when you bring AI in, and we talk about false positive reductions, that's where, I don't know, let's say you keep the user keeps getting hits coming across, and they have to sit there and just keep reducing those hits, because it's the same thing over and over again. The rule system can't be changed or adapted enough to accommodate for that. The machine learning algorithm will see that, oh wow, 80% false positive, 80% of the alerts that are being generated are false positives, are not real, right? And you're sitting, you have a whole team of people. If you talk about banks, right? Some of the banks have armies and armies of people that are sitting there just doing this, reducing the false positives, right? That's all they're doing, right?
That would be a great job to do. I'm just joking, but it's like true. It's just so important. So I think later on, I would like to ask about a specific case, if you're allowed to talk about any specific case.
We can talk to some of that. So essentially, the AI will come in, will reduce those false positives accordingly, and take a load of those alerts and say, this is not real, this is not real, this is false positive, this is a false positive. In Hawk's case, show again in plain English why it's a false positive and why this has been discounted. Okay. And so everyone can just get on with their job and do more meaningful work, as opposed to the robotic stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic, because I think that makes life also a bit more smoother when you're in the fintechs and the banks of the world. Yeah. So in your personal journey, having worked globally in, say, Silicon Valley, you've worked in Wall Street and then in Singapore. So how have these diverse experiences shaped your approach to tackling compliance and financial crime? Could you give some examples, please?
I'll describe it from a general perspective first, and then go into the financial crime element. I mean, the Silicon Valley, what I love about Silicon Valley is optimism. Okay.
Yeah.
The goals are aspirational for Silicon Valley companies. We want to do big things. Steve Jobs wanted to put a computer in everybody's house, right?
Yes.
Mark Zuckerberg wants to connect everyone in the world. Elon Musk wants to back the human race up on another planet, and just in case we get hit by an asteroid or something like that, right? These are very, very aspirational goals. So I really like that element of Silicon Valley. The optimism, the we can do it kind of vibe, that culture that comes out of that part of the world. Then moving to Wall Street, what I really like about Wall Street is the pragmatism. Okay. I was an analyst in Wall Street, and so in fact, just from a personal journey perspective, that experience was interesting. Being super optimistic, to come into Wall Street and saying this could be done, coming in with a smile on your face every day, and everyone's like, hey Robin, what's wrong with you, man? I got, especially in the hedge fund space, I got labeled a Care Bear a couple of times because lovely. I was too kind, too smiling, too positive, too whatever, and maybe I was to some degree. But I think that bringing you back down to earth element that comes with Wall Street, and that work ethic as well. I have not worked harder anywhere else, any other time in my career than when I worked in Wall Street. And it's not just the hours, but it's the constant analytical thinking that you have to do. It's and as well as trying to figure out visionary thinking as well, right? Because you're analyzing companies which are run by a bunch of visionaries, and you're like, what's next? And what does that mean ultimately, what does that mean for the stock, right? Yeah. I think that aspect has served me very well. Yeah, I'm eternally grateful for that experience and that takeaway from Wall Street. And then I think with Singapore, I really dig the efficiency aspect of Singapore.
Okay.
Right? Where we like to do things efficiently. I think, because we have such a safe environment, I think the environment to do creative things is there. It doesn't necessarily translate, right? When you're but for someone like myself, I think it's definitely there and again has served me well. And so taking all of this, applying it to financial crime, not only am I able to grow, because I didn't just do this with Hawk, right? What I'm trying to do with Hawk, being employee number one in a Western company coming to APAC, but I did that with my previous company as well. But having that understanding and being that bridge and being able to grow an organization out accordingly, I think all of this has served me well on that front. On the actual financial crime front, again, going back to my Silicon Valley experience, I care. I really do care. And I, when I was, in 2014, before I was married, my now wife and I went to Cambodia to help out human trafficking survivors. Yes. And to me, that was, and I had influences like this during my whole time in Silicon Valley, right? But to really go in, and I don't think I would have made that journey had I not had that experience, because I worked with a lot of people in Silicon Valley who were constantly about pay it forward, give back, etc., and that carried through to financial crime to the extent where I took this journey and got to try and help out as many survivors as possible, and it really put into perspective like my why am I in this industry, why am I doing what I'm doing.
So that was my next question. That you said that you were doing this out of your own passion to help human traffic victims. Can you give a little bit more detail about that to us?
Sure. So
I'm really interested in that aspect as well.
I took this journey. Yeah. I took this trip. So prior to that, so from my initial stint, like three years of my career in this space, I was just thinking, it's a job, not a career, right? This is just what I'm doing, and it is what it is, and whatever. But it wasn't until I took that trip that it really started to hit me, and then what amplified this was as soon as I got my permanent residency here in Singapore, I thought I can take some risks, and I went off and done a startup.
Yes.
And by the way, this is before startups were perceived to be, what they are now, like sexy and whatever. You were viewed as the guy that couldn't get a corporate job back then. Yes, right? Yes.
This was 10, 11, 12 years ago.
2013.
12 years ago, yes.
2013.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I decided to do before I launched this startup is I had what I call my Batman Begins moment. So I know you remember that movie, right? But before he becomes Batman, he climbs the mountain, he picks the flower, faces his fears, that kind of stuff, right? So I felt
So you were the Batman character.
Well, I'm actually Robin, right? But
Yes.
sorry, lame joke there. But so I went back to Silicon Valley, and I got to meet a lot of these executives who so when I was on Wall Street, I got to meet a lot of executives and hang out with them who are now quasi famous, right? Because they weren't a senior back then. And so when I was doing my startup, I still knew some of them here and there. And I went back and I met one of them who really, really inspired me. He had launched a startup which had this concept of integrated philanthropy, and he was explaining to me that. So I managed to score a coffee with him, and he was explaining to me that this concept of integrated philanthropy, where from day one when he launched his startup, 1% of his equity was owned by an NGO, 1% of his net income went to an NGO. And 1% of him and the company's time was spent volunteering for an NGO. And so when I did my first startup, and especially in line with the trip, I repeated that at 2%. Okay. And the startup that the NGO that I worked with was one here called Emancipatia. And it was an anti-human trafficking NGO based here in Singapore. And I gave them 2% of the equity from day one. And it was really awesome because my startup eventually got acquired. It wasn't big money, but it got acquired, and that 2% actually
went to the NGO.
I wrote them a check for that.
Fantastic.
So,
Fantastic. So these victims of human trafficking have now training and have moved on from their plight.
So when I went to Cambodia, it was direct volunteer work.
Yes.
But here in Singapore, in terms of what Emancipation did, it was mainly from the awareness perspective and the donation perspective as well. So we and so I already explained the first two dynamics, but in terms of our time, we helped them during their fun run, like we were the guys giving out the water to the runners. Charity run, not fun run, charity run. They would hold screenings of certain human trafficking documentaries, and we'd be the ushers, showing everyone to their seats and stuff like that. So,
of course.
That was how we aligned with that particular NGO then.
Fantastic.
And then later down the line as well, throughout the various organizations I've worked with, I've tried to incorporate that into our day to day, just because hopefully just thinking that sense of purpose rubs off on the people that I get to work alongside as well.
And you sort of influence your co-workers as well.
Yes.
To get on board a good mission.
Yes.
Which is also philanthropy and helping human traffic victims.
Yes. Although, I have to be, to be clear here that human trafficking isn't the only what we call predicate crime that leads to money laundering or other aspects of financial crime. There are a whole bunch of other types, right? But it's probably the one that's most relatable to me and to us as humans.
Yes. Absolutely wonderful work that you're doing. So as a vice chair of the APAC chapter for this global coalition to fight financial crime, what trends or challenges are top of mind for you, for example, moving forward?
Sure. So the Global Coalition to Fight Financial Crime is precisely that. It's a coalition of public and private organizations that have come together and are actually, doing stuff to fight financial crime. For the APAC chapter, we have released a paper on fraud and scams. We have put topics such as the what we call OSEC, right? The online sexual exploitation of children or wildlife trafficking front and center of what we're trying to address here. Because the idea here is that the more knowledge, if you can stop the predicate crime, that's great. But the more knowledge you can build around it as well, that's also
Absolutely.
very, very helpful. From being a part of this organization, I would say that the challenges that are top of mind right now, I mean, I think the most obvious one when you look at what's going on geopolitically is sanctions, right?
Yes.
Like it seems like each country every day is out there sanctioning individuals, and someone that country A sanctioned might not necessarily be in line with someone that country B is sanctioned, and there's a political motivation behind it. It could be argued, etc., etc. It really is a landmine a minefield of sanctions there.
Mm-hmm.
The second would what we call adversarial AI.
Okay.
So that's bad guys using AI to do bad things. And in the AI space, I think I mentioned some of this earlier, right? We talk about guardrails, ethics, and making sure that the AI development is as bias free as possible, etc., etc. Whereas the bad guys, they don't care.
Could you give me a specific example of one of these adversarial AI fraud scam platforms that you may have come across?
Sure.
Can you go into a little bit of depth, because it's an interesting topic?
Sure. So I guess one of the latest trends in our industry is this concept of a deep fake.
Yes.
Okay. So Robin is talking to Nasha, and we're on a Zoom call.
Yes.
But you don't see Robin on the screen. You see Jennifer Lopez. Okay, and I'm moving and talking a little, but what you're seeing is Jennifer that's moving and talking,
yes,
etc., etc. Her voice, everything, and Jennifer says, "Hey, Nasha, I love the podcast that you're doing. It's great. I will come. I promise I will appear on your next one, but it's going to cost you $500." And then you wire that money to Jennifer, and you can scam.
So-called Jennifer, yes.
Okay, that's with Robin being the puppet. Right, puppeteering, pulling the strings on Jennifer. With adversarial AI, you don't need Robin, right? You can automate that. Jennifer talking to Nasha is autonomous.
Yes.
She's autonomous, right? She's operating by herself, and what that means for the bad guys is they can do this at scale now.
Yes.
Okay.
Agents.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
So when you look at what's been happening with some of our neighbors here in Singapore, like scam centers and stuff like that, regular people getting kidnapped and made to scam.
Yes.
They're slowly moving away from that. And the alternative now is to go to a great university like tech university like Stanford or MIT, finding the computer science PhDs there, promising them amazing jobs in Singapore with a detour in some other country on the way, and then they go to that country, they get kidnapped and
forced
labor to create these algorithms that these deepfake algorithms to do that. So that's an example for you.
That's horrible, but it's the reality. It's someone who's pretending to be something or someone, and you're not capable of understanding that this is a deep fake.
So that there are so many angles along this chain, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's the education element, there's the liability element as well, right?
Yes.
And different governments around the world have taken different approaches to how they're gonna do this. If I take England, where I'm from, as an example, in the UK, if you get scammed, the bank has to pay you back. Right.
Good. That's how it should be.
The bank has to pay you back.
Yes.
So yeah, and different guys are approaching it in different ways. So there's the financial institution element as well, right? And then there's the how we gonna bust these guys element, right?
Yes.
And take them down, and that has to happen at the political / government level, right? So
yes.
it's the whole chain. There's stuff to do,
and it's a work in progress because
yes.
For example, in APEC, you've got different types of government regulations. It's not all uniform.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about that earlier, that it's such a multi-dimensional
but
in every way.
I think ultimately, if we're going to do as much as we can, the approach should be that of what we call a public-private partnership.
Yes.
Right. And if you look at what Singapore has got going on with the anti-scam command center, that I won't go into detail. The listeners and viewers can Google this.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite tremendous, and it's a great example for that. And Singapore is definitely leading the way on that front.
Leading on the way on that in
Yes.
the public-private partnership.
Yes.
To deal with scams and money laundering.
Yes.
And dealing with busting the criminals.
Yes.
Yeah. So in terms of how would you say that your unique career has helped shape your vision for regulatory tech's future in APAC market? For example, what we covered it. It's like, how do you determine what's fake and not fake? As an end customer, how would I determine that?
You mean in terms of RegTech or
in terms of RegTech's future in this region?
I mean, just to keep it at RegTech's future and putting my career into perspective, I just think I've been lucky on that front, right? I started my career as a developer. You learn about technology and actually the area I was playing in back then that I was developing in is very, very useful for today's stuff. I mean, I was with a company that has actually been acquired twice since now. So it's now under 3M, but it's now sits under the company 3M, and we were one of the first pioneers on the electronic medical record, and that's a very sensitive data area,
yes,
right? And
absolutely.
so there's all the data privacy stuff and all of that. We were coding around that and making sure that we align with regulations, or even try see where the puck is heading in terms of regulations and code, develop product and code according to that along the way. And then moving from that to Wall Street, which my primary role there was to analyze companies. And so for me, picking the RegTech, who I'm going to work for on that front, I have a very thorough due diligence process in terms of who I slang my name besides, right?
Right. Yes.
Alongside. So I think those two parts have helped me, but it also helps me analyze competition. It also helps me try and on Wall Street we try to predict the future, right? And how that translates to the stock price. I mentioned that earlier, right? So it kind of helps me from that perspective try and see where RegTech is heading on that front too as an industry.
Okay, so AI in RegTech is the new thing, or you say that's like been on the market for a while now already?
If you take the traditional definition of AI has been around for a long time.
Yes,
period.
Since the 40s, 50s.
But in terms of the newer stuff and AI being applied in RegTech, it's actually been around for a while, like since I would say arguably 2016, 2017. Okay. And even prior to that, some of the stuff that that our industry has developed, some of that could arguably be labeled RegTech as well. So AI as well. So
yeah. Okay. So is it possible for you to give me a little case study of, say, a public-private partnership that truly that you've been on in your journey, that truly combated financial crime? Is it possible to give a case study or a sort of an outline, a little example for us?
That white paper on fraud and scams, and we identified 20 typologies, fraud and scams typologies that was sent out to industry, and I'm 99% sure that helped, especially given the people that were at the conference when we launched that white paper, including Interpol, which was at Interpol.
is that public knowledge?
That's
that
public
one
knowledge.
that is
Yeah,
public
that's public
knowledge.
knowledge.
So one could download that white paper if you were interested to find out what the 20
Yes, it's publicly available.
parameters are. So looking ahead, let's just see what are the boldest predictions for how AI will reshape compliance and fraud detection across Asia Pacific over the next, say, 5 years.
Sure. Maybe I'll talk about this from the financial institution perspective.
Yeah,
So
sure.
many financial institutions, 10 years ago, most of them, AML sat under compliance and fraud sat under operations.
Okay, yes.
And the type of fraud that we're seeing now with fraud and scams is what we call third-party fraud. So first-party fraud, Robin is stealing from the company. Second-party fraud, Nisha is helping Robin steal from the company. Third-party fraud, we don't know who's stealing from the company, and they could be leveraging Robin, they could be doing it directly, etc., etc. And with third-party fraud, i.e., fraud, and since the emergence, the big-time emergence of third-party fraud, we see in many cases we see fraud moving in the organization and sitting next to AML, because once someone's been scammed, you want to see where the money goes after, which is where AML comes into play, right? You follow the money, right?
Yes.
I think cyber's next, just given the nature of these fraud and scams, right? So I think cyber's going to follow through, and you'll have this one department. And if you look at most of the technology companies, they kind of have something like this, and they call it trust and safety.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So I think it's just a matter of time before trust and safety hits financial services.
So it's then AML and cybersecurity hand in hand.
And fraud.
And
anti-fraud,
fraud.
sorry.
It's all three anti-fraud,
In one
all
department.
in one department, holistically working.
Yes.
Interesting. So then,
and maybe I can expand on that
yeah,
too, if that helps.
Please do, yeah.
I don't necessarily think that the jobs themselves will change, because if you look at AML is about looking into the past, stuff that's happened already, and then you're looking at, oh, look at all this activity, something suspicious here, send it off to the regulator and law enforcement after, right? Fraud, you're trying to stop stuff before it happens. Okay, you're trying to prevent people from getting scammed. You're trying to identify stuff before it happens, and it's almost a different kind of mindset. So the analogy I use is that AML is kind of like accounting.
Yes.
Fraud is kind of like finance, right?
Yes.
There's a distinct difference between the two, and so with cyber coming into the picture as well, you would have all these people doing different jobs. That's fine, but I think ultimately they will report into the same individual or department, etc., and
work more together.
Yes.
Okay, so that just creates more future jobs then. I one would envision. And you need to train the new cohort, isn't it? So is there a lot of training going on in Singapore, you say, for upskilling in these skills?
Yes. There are many institutions that offer education. There are many, whether it's a traditional academic institution, like you can do a degree in compliance, or even a master's in cybersecurity, or any of these topics, right? There are traditional institutions, but there are also like separate organizations where all they do is train people up on this stuff.
It's vocational training for on-the-job training. Not
on the job per se, but it's a whole organization dedicated to training on a particular area. So, for example, when I first moved to Singapore, I worked for one of them. I worked for the International Compliance Association. Okay. So
right.
Yeah.
So it's to train how to figure out anti-money laundering or fraud detection, or
even what it is. Back to first principles, right?
Okay.
What is it, right?
What is it in the first place?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
How does it happen?
Yeah. So, lastly, I had this question: like, if you could solve one critical challenge in this field with technology in the financial crime landscape, what would it be and why?
Aspirational.
Aspirational, yes.
I mean, aspirational, it'll be Minority Report, right? That thought crime, being able to figure that out. Because at the end of the day, we are up against the human mind. Criminals it's the human mind, right?
Yes.
We are so innovative. It's tough. You can have the best AI on the planet. Humans will figure out a way around it, right? We're survivalists by nature. We're like cockroaches, right? we will figure something out, right? Again, aspirationally, that would be the ultimate. Whether it's a product, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's anything, that would be the pinnacle of success is being able to have some way in terms of mind reading or anything like that. And again, it's very, very aspirational. You know, you probably got to be Professor X or something from X-Men, but you know.
I see, I understand. It's like it's aspirational to read behind the criminal mind, basically.
Yes.
And that's something that is perhaps for another topic.
Maybe, yeah.
Another topic. And maybe you could do a whole series of training anti-money laundering.
There are way more people out there that are better qualified than me to talk to that. Sure, man. But
yeah. No, but this was just fascinating. Thank you so much for coming along today.
No problem.
For this podcast. I got really educated a lot in your field of expertise. And I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you, Robin,
Me
for
too.
the inspirational anecdotes along the way as well.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And the next time I make Chai Kway Teow, I'll think about all your anecdotes as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this is Nasha Haider from Innotech Consultants. Please do join me next time on our next episode, where we will interview some more professionals and entrepreneurs in the field of tech. Please do link in with me on LinkedIn, and thank you very much for joining us.